Go ahead and take a minute. I can talk here. Anyway, who in here has ever watched Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Yeah, who hasn't? If you haven't, raise your hand.
No joke.
All right, good. This will go a lot better now that everybody has watched it. So the title of this is going to be The Testimony of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So humor me. It's going to be a different style message, but I think I'm hopefully be able to bring it to a good point. All right, we'll give her just a minute to get ready. Actually, Caitlin, I'll go ahead and start. Just jump down to get ready for the 922 clip. Just skip the first one. All right. So we know in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, he was born a little bit different. Why was he different? Because he had a shiny nose. So, and I think that's something we can all relate to. While we all may not have red shiny noses, we can all relate to some way, somehow we're all different. We were born different. And, you know, when Rudolph was born, his family tried to cover it up for a little while, you know. It's like, okay, he wanted to, you know, kind of be like everybody else. Essentially, he was trying to be something he wasn't. He was trying to fit the cookie-cutter mold of everybody else around him. You know, trying to fit in, trying to make sure he was cool with everybody. So keep him in mind. And then we also have Hermie. Who was Hermie?
Elf.
Hermie was the elf, right? Yeah, he wanted to be a dentist, exactly. So he's another character that we'll be addressing. He was not happy in his work. He did not like to make toys, and to an elf, that is like the ultimate sin, because every elf has to like to make toys. So, you know, he was working in the room, his boss was like, you know, what's wrong with you? He's like, I don't like to make toys. And they're like, what? What is wrong with you? You don't like to make toys? He's like, no, you don't. And they were all basically laughing and making fun of him. So it ended up where he basically felt like he was a misfit. So let's just take a look at this clip here.
Why am I such a misfit? I am not just a nitwit. You can't fire me, I quit. Seems I don't fit in.
So, you have Hermie. Sounds pretty sad there and frustrated. He'll never fit in. He considers himself a misfit. Then kind of Rudolph feels the same way. We'll take a look at him.
There are more important things than comfort. Self-respect. Santa can't object to you now.
Why am I such a misfit? I am not just a nitwit. Just because my nose grows. Why don't I fit in?
Anybody feel sorry for him? So they both sound pretty pathetic, right? They're pretty down on themselves. You know, probably thinking a lot of thoughts like, you know, why am I here? You know, thinking that they don't fit in with anybody, not going to have any friends. A true misfit. So we go on in the story. Hermie still hangs out in there. He's thinking, well, maybe I'll try to fit in a little more. So he skips elf practice to stay in the workshop. And he continues to try to work just a little bit, but let's take a look what happens.
Don't hurt a bit.
Why weren't you at elf practice?
Just fixing these dolls' teeth.
Just fix it. Now listen, we have dolls that cry, talk, walk, blink, and run a temperature. We don't need any chewing dolls.
I just thought I found a way to fit in.
You'll never fit in. Now you come to elf practice and learn how to wiggle your ears and chuckle warmly and go hee-hee and ho-ho and important stuff like that. A dentist. Good grief.
on my own now.
So sounds like it keeps getting worse for him. He tried to do his best to fit in, and sometimes in our lives we try to do that, and unfortunately we don't always get the outcome that we want. Has anyone here been there? You don't have to raise your hand, but I know I have. You know, maybe you have a vision that somebody else don't have, and you share it, you kind of get put down. You know, it makes you feel pretty bad, and now it appears that that he is starting to run from his problem instead of toughing it out. And you know, sometimes that's the easiest thing to do, is just to say, you know what, they're coming down on me, I'm a failure, this can't happen, I can't do this, I can't do that. So he makes that first decision, and that first decision is to run. And then it continues on, you know, kind of Rudolph's in the same boat. So his fake nose, you know, he put it back on for the reindeer games, and you know, he gets bumped, and his little buddy Fireball like freaks out. Then everybody starts laughing at him, calling him names. Another example, you know, on the playground or whatever when you were younger, or in the hallways of high school, being a freshman, what have you. There's always going to be something where at some point in time somebody may try to make fun of you. Somebody, you know, may try to put you down. And then ultimately, you know, after they started making fun of him, he made the same decision, and he took off and ran away as well. We do have a little ray of light, though, because there was a doe, a girl that liked Rudolph, named Clarice. And let's take a look at that.
Rudolph? Rudolph? Well, what do you want?
You promised to walk me home.
Aren't you gonna laugh at my nose, too?
I think it's a handsome nose. Much better than that silly false one you were wearing.
It's terrible. It's different from everybody else's.
But that's what makes it so grand. Why, any doe would consider herself lucky to be with you.
Yeah? But I wasn't very lucky today, was I? I wish... I wish...
So what did we learn from this clip here? Chicks did red noses? No, I think the lesson to be learned here is that your true friends and family will love you for who you are. They will accept the good and the bad and the uniqueness of all the things that make you, you. We have to remember that. You know, it's not about fitting in a particular group or club. Or if you don't have certain shoes, certain brand name clothes, you're not going to fit in with this group. If they're going to be a true friend and a true person to love you for you, you'll know. And kind of this situation here, she didn't care what his appearance was. She liked him and loved him for who he was, for his personality, for what's on the inside. You know, we hear that cliche a lot, but it's very true. If you love somebody from the outside, it's only going to last for a short amount of time. But if you love them for what's on the inside, that's going to last forever. So the story continues, and then we'll get to see how Hermie and Rudolph meet.
Oh, is this your snowbank?
No. Who are you?
Well, actually, I am a dentist.
A dentist?
Well, I want to be someday. Right now, I'm just an elf. But I don't need anybody. I'm independent.
Yeah? Me too. I'm... whatever you said.
Exactly. So, you know, the saying goes, misery loves company. And then, so nobody ever wants to be alone. Even when you're feeling bad, you want somebody that feels just as bad as you do. Then you can relate to each other. So that's kind of what happened here. So they try to relate to each other. They begin hanging out. And it's just like, you know, in groups. If you play football, you're likely to want to hang out with other football players. Or if you're involved in different sports and academics, those people tend to be what you hang around. But even through this, they have neglected to face their problems. You know, when we don't face our problems, you know, they may be suppressed for a little while, but you know what? They continue to grow. They continue to build. And a good example of this is the abominable snow monster. He's big, he's tall, he has claws and teeth. Keep him in mind of where we will again refer to him later. So, they decided to go ahead and run away. During their travels, they come across a man named Yukon Cornelius. And what was Yukon always looking for? Gold and silver, right? Silver and gold. There you go. So they come, they meet up with him, and it looks like he was a guy that liked to run from his problems too. He was just traveling around, didn't know where he was going. So the three of them end up traveling together. They were lost, wondering, not knowing where they were going to end up. Sounds like a lot like life sometimes. So many decisions, do we go to this school, that school? Do we work here? Do we work there? Are we going to move? Are we going to live in the same town? All of these factors play into our lives. Sometimes we can feel like we're lost. We don't know where to go. We don't know where to turn. And like we said, as you continue to run away, those problems continue to get bigger and bigger. And as they travel, they have several run-ins with that snow monster. It's always chasing them. You may get away for a while, but when you don't face your problem, it'll never go away. You always have to end up looking over your shoulder, kind of like they did. That monster would always come after them. They think they'd get rid of it, be clear for a while, then they turn around, there he is again. Then they got to try to dodge this way and dodge that way. So the three of them, Herbie, Rudolph, and Yukon, end up riding on an iceberg. Then they land on an island of misfit toys. This is a place where all the unwanted toys go, or you could even interchange that to maybe all the unwanted people go who end up maybe running away from some problems they've had. The trio thought that this would be a perfect place to fit in, so they asked to stay, but they had to get permission from the king of the island, King Moonracer.
Come closer. What do you desire?
Well, we're a couple of misfits from Christmas Town, and we'd like to live here.
No, that would not be possible. This island is for toys alone.
How do you like that? Even among misfits, you're misfits.
Unlike playthings, a living creature cannot hide himself on an island. But perhaps, being misfits yourselves, you might help the toys here.
Help them?
Yes. When someday you return to Christmas Town, would you tell Santa about our homeless toys? I'm sure he could find little boys and girls who would be happy with them. A toy is never truly happy until it is loved by a child.
When and if we ever get back, we'll tell Santa, sir.
Good.
So you see there, did you catch what he said? He said a living creature cannot hide himself on an island. Sometimes we feel like doing that. We feel like just, I'm going to go in my room, I'm going to shut the door, I'm going to put the covers over my head, and I'm not coming out. Just forget it. I'm tired of dealing with all these things, in my life. But he spoke something into them. He said, maybe when you get back, you can tell Santa about the other toys, and maybe he was saying, hey, you can stand in the gap for these people. You can reach them with the strength that you have. Maybe he saw something in them and knew that there was a hope for those that were stuck that couldn't get out on their own. As the story goes on, Rudolph ends up leaving his friends and goes out on his own because he feels that what makes him different, his nose, is slowing them down, and feels like he's the one bringing the burden upon them. So he runs for quite a while.
Rudolph was growing up, and growing up made Rudolph realize you can't run away from your troubles.
So thank you, Burl Ives. Does anybody know who Burl Ives is? He's a local guy. He wrote, he's famous for Christmas songs. You'll get to hear him sing in the end. And he's the narrator of this movie. Have you heard Holly Jolly Christmas? There you go. And he has, over at Eastern, he has a studio named after him. So, Anyway, there's your trivia for the night, your knowledge. So, like you said, you can't run away from your troubles. Rudolph starts to realize that. Eventually, he starts to grow up and realize, you know, running's not going to do me any good. So he decides to go on home, and he finds out that his family is gone, and they've been gone for months. It wasn't until this very moment that he realized that his actions affected his family. So all this time, it was about me, 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 and he had no clue that everything else around him affected his family and everybody. So he knew where he had to go. He had to go to the cave of the snow monster to face him, or he had to go face his problem. The problem that had bound him and his family at this point. So as they're in the cave, he's dealing with this problem. It's not looking good. Here comes Hermie and Yukon out of nowhere. They came in to stand in the gap for Rudolph and took on the snow monster. They addressed the problem, or the monster, and they took out his teeth and they took out his claws, and he wasn't nearly as scary as he was before. They stood up and they overcame him. And that's what happens when you stand up to your problems in your life. It can look really scary, really horrible, but then when you take it on, you like that, Jason? When you take it on, you take out the teeth and you take out the claws, nothing looks nearly as scary as it did. So sometimes when you're battling, it does. It seems like you can seem lost. And as the movie continues, you know, Yukon was fighting him and he went over the side of the cliff. So, but let me tell you, no matter how grim the situation, you never stop fighting. Yukon's friends thought it was over. They thought he was gone. It's hopeless. There's no hope for him. He's gone. He's dead. So they went ahead and left. They went back to Christmas Town. And once Rudolph and Hermie returned, and everybody started apologizing. You know, they realized too that maybe they were a little hard on them. So a change started to happen.
Here's the man, and here's the beast. Now, calm down, calm down. I reformed this bumble. He wants a job. Looky what he can do. And he doesn't even need a stepladder.
So as you can see here, all of a sudden out of nowhere, here he comes. Yukon continued to battle that monster, continued to step up, and he took control of the situation, and now he dictates his problem. His problem does not dictate him. And you can do that in your life. Your problem doesn't have to control you in every move that you make, every step you take. You can overcome anything that you choose to through the power and the strength of God.
Amen.
So then as we go toward the end of the story, Santa comes in and says the storm is way too bad. There is no hope for Christmas. We'll have to cancel it, or so he thought.
I've got some bad news, folks. Christmas is going to be canceled. There's nothing I can do. This weather. Rudolph, please, could you tone it down a bit? I mean, that nose of yours. That nose. That beautiful, wonderful nose.
Huh?
Rudolph, Christmas is not off, and you're going to lead my team.
I am?
Yes, sir. You and that wonderful nose of yours.
My nose, sir?
Oh, from what I see now, that'll cut through the murkiest storm they can dish up. What I'm trying to say is, Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?
It will be an honor, sir.
I knew that nose would be useful someday. I knew it all along.
So as we see there, the story gets a little bit brighter. What he thought was his downfall. He was never going to be anything. Nobody was ever going to care. He went from a zero to a hero. He went from a misfit to being what he is there, to essentially save Christmas. So that's what you guys can do in your lives. You know, whatever it is that's unique to you that you think is your downfall, God gave that to you. God put that in you. God made you just exactly the way He wanted you in His image.
Amen.
So He can do that through you. And He can do it for each and every one of you in this room tonight. All your imperfections, He can turn them into greatness. God has a perfect plan for you. And like I said, He made you in His image. He didn't make any mess ups. He made each and every one of you for this place and for this time right now. So, as we finish up here.
Well, it's Christmas Eve, but looks like we're forgotten again.
But Rudolph promised we'd go this time.
Oh, guess the storm was too much for them.
So check that out.
I just as
Watch
well
this
go to
scene.
bed and start dreaming about next year.
I haven't any dreams left to dream. We'll never get off this island. Never.
Wait a minute. What's that? Is it?
It sure is. It's Santa. Look, Rudolph is leading the way.
You can see his nose from here. Oh.
So basically, He stood in the gap. He stood in the gap for those that couldn't make it on their own, that didn't have the strength maybe to get out. If it wasn't for His imperfection, way back when, in the beginning, when He was born, if it wasn't for that imperfection, they wouldn't have had the chance that they had right there. And that's what you guys can do with your friends. Your friends, your family, all those you have a contact with, can do that same thing. That uniqueness about you can reach down. You may have that exact word to say. You may have that right personality to reach that person that if you wasn't you, maybe they wouldn't get reached.
Amen.
So I know we had some fun with this tonight, but I hope you got the point from this. You know, that you don't have to be born perfect. You don't have to have everything right and everything lined up perfectly. You know, like I said, God made you the way you are. He made you to stand in the gap, to reach out. And you just hang on. Don't give up. Don't run from your battles. You stay right there. And you surround yourself with people that love you for who you are. So I thank you guys for listening. Have a good night.